We are almost at the peak of fall. In this part of the country, fall is a very short season. We have a lot to finish on the homestead, and you're kind of scurrying right at this time of year to get things done. We still want to build our smokehouse, and we've started on that, but we're going to have to do a couple of other things around here as well. I wanted to come out to make sure that the oven was still in good condition and working well, because we've got a lot of people that are going to be hungry while they're working on things. So I thought this would be a great opportunity just to talk about how to use an earthen oven. And it doesn't matter for the time period if it's earthen oven or if it's stone or if it's brick, they're all going to work the same way. And the idea there is retaining heat. You're not generating heat with these ovens like you're used to in your kitchen. These are all about heat retention. And so the first thing that you have to do is get your wood in there and start up a really good fire. We built this oven 2 years ago, and it was a really exciting thing to add to the homestead at that time, but we wanted to push the idea of what we've built as an oven in the past. And we've built several. There are 3 here on the property, and then there are ovens that we've built at workshops and different things like that, that were all pretty small. We wanted to maximize on this, and we wanted an oven that we could make a whole turkey in if we wanted to. So we built the biggest oven that we've ever built. And the walls are probably twice as thick as any walls, so it's really good at retaining heat, but it does take a while to heat up. So I came out here a few hours ago just to start stoking this fire and get the oven ready to bake in today. What you want to do when you start out, like any other fire, you want a small material, and then after you get the flames going, you're just going to feed it, and you're going to ramp that oven up. And eventually the oven is even going to shoot flames out the mouth, just because you're really trying to stoke that up. So don't be worried if you're building an oven at home and you're like, I don't want to build too hot of a fire in here and break this. It's going to be really hard to do that. This oven is feeling nice and warm on the exterior. On the smaller ovens that we've built in the past, you wouldn't even be able to hold your hand up to the wall because it would be so hot. But it feels like this is about ready to go. Now, we're gonna make a nice chicken pie with cream today. It's gonna be a great way to use the oven, but to do that, first we have to get the coals out of the oven. Again, we're not generating heat, we're retaining all the heat that we've already put in there. To bake in it, you have to pull the coals out, and you'll use something like this. This is a rooker, and this is a nice tool that you would probably be able to make at home if you wanted to. I've made them in the past, and they're pretty easy. If you want to buy a tool to work with your earthen oven and get the coals out, this is a fire rake, and we sell them on our website. To be able to bake in this oven now, we want to take all the coals and the ashes out of there. Don't worry, we're not taking the heat out. It's already holding the heat in the walls. And the whole point of this is to ramp that heat up for a good long time so that it will stay after we remove this material. But our oven's about 850 degrees right now. It's gonna stay nice and hot. We've got our coals out of the oven. Make sure that you have a bucket handy, and this is that simple. Just go ahead and rake them out. Be careful about the ones that fall on the ground. They will burn the bottom of your shoes, so watch out for that. Now, you get the door on the oven, and that's gonna help even out the temperature. And remember, the walls on this are so thick, it's gonna act like an insulator. So there's no heat leaving this right now. It's just gonna even out and get ready to bake. It's a nice chilly day out here. All the leaves are turning colors, and it makes me want something like a chicken pot pie, which I haven't found an exact recipe for in the time period, but something that's got cream, something that's rich and warm, and that's what we're gonna make today. This chicken pie with cream is just gonna use a basic pie crust. So all you really need is some flour, water, and butter to make that. After that, we're gonna put in some seasoned chicken. I've already quartered up our chicken. It's ready to go. It calls for a chicken and quarter. You're gonna rub that with lard and spice it with salt, pepper, nutmeg, and cinnamon. And then at the end, we're gonna add some mushroom ketchup or mushroom juice and cream. It's gonna be so good. I cannot wait to try it. This recipe comes from the Court and Country Cook, and it is originally written in 1691, then translated in around 1702. And the recipe is called a chicken pie with cream. I like that it's simple like that. As soon as the pie is made, let your chickens be put into quarters, seasoned with pepper, salt, nutmeg, cinnamon, and melted or pounded lard and fine herbs, and let it be covered with a lid of the same paste. When it is baked, pour in some cream and let it stand a little while longer in the oven. Lastly, add some mushroom juice and serve it up hot to the table. Now, this is so simple, but that cream and that umami from the mushroom is gonna set this off. A little bit of herbs that we've had drying in the kitchen. It's gonna be delicious, but we gotta start on this paste real quick, so that's what we're gonna do. Pie crust does not have to be difficult. We'd say that on this channel all the time. Follow a 3-2-1, 3-part flour, 2-part fat, 1-part liquid. It's really easy. And you know, people talk about not overworking your pie crust, and you don't want to overwork it, but at the same time, you got to start somewhere. So don't be afraid to get your hands in the dough and just get to mixing. We got our pie crust rolled out. When you're rolling out a pie crust, don't be intimidated by its floury surface. Start from the middle, slowly work your way out. It's very easy. The bottom crust is in the pan now. We're going to go ahead and get our chicken ready to go. So the first thing that we need to do with this chicken is go ahead and get it covered in lard. All right, the temperature in our oven is nice and even now. The walls are actually hotter than they were before because that heat has just evened out and moved into the walls, and it's insulating really well. The idea with an earthen oven is that you want to get the temperature up and then let it come down slowly. In the time period, they would plan a lot of things to be baked all in one day. So if something required a hotter temperature, they would use the oven. And then they would bring it out. When it cooled down, they'd put something else in. And so you're thinking, we're gonna do a day's worth of cooking, not just heat it up for one thing. Mostly because firewood is expensive, it's laborsome, it's dangerous to cut firewood, and so they're not gonna be wasting that sort of thing. Now in this case, we don't need to mop the earthen oven. You've probably seen us do that in episodes past. With baking bread, you will wet a mop the floor because you want the moisture in the oven in that circumstance. We don't need that today. But what we do need is a trivet. Now, if we put this pie pan directly on the surface inside that oven, it's likely that it would break, and we don't want that to happen. So this will go underneath our pie pan, and we'll slide that back in the oven to bake our pie. Our pie is finished. We took it out at about 30 minutes. We added some cream into that little hole, the vent hole at the top, put the pastry back on and put it back in the oven for 10 to 15 more minutes. I wanted that to all mingle in there really well. And then the recipe calls for you to pull it out and put in mushroom juice. Now, this is a really good opportunity to use mushroom ketchup if you've purchased that or made that at home. I didn't have any mushroom ketchup today, so I thought, well, maybe we can work up something so viewers can get that taste without having bottled mushroom ketchup. So what I did was I diced up a bunch of mushrooms. I put a little bit of water in the pan with some salt and pepper, and then I just simmered that covered for about a half hour. And that gets you a nice little mushroom juice that you can put in there. It's gonna have that umami and that salty, and that's gonna mix in there with the cream. I'm excited to try this. That is really good. That is exactly what you want to eat on a cold day. It's so... The chicken flavor is wonderful. The cream brings in that fat, and it just carries everything through. It's soothing. The mushroom sauce, the juice, the ketchup, whatever you want to call it, comes through really nicely. Not a huge mushroom flavor, but it just brings that earthiness and that salt that we want in something like this. I kind of just mushed my crust and chicken and juice all together. You could probably keep it separate. Now, one thing that people are sometimes confused about with chicken pie recipes in the 18th century is that they don't call for you to debone the chicken. Well, it actually makes a lot of sense. I know that a lot of times now we don't want to go picking bones out of our pie, but in the time period, it makes a lot of sense to cook a pie with the bones in the bird still, because there's a lot more flavor that way. And so they want to get as much flavor as they possibly can in this. And so it's really not strange, but you might not have seen it before. It does taste delicious, don't worry. I was talking to John about this recipe before we filmed, and I know that mushroom ketchup is a little hard to come by right now. He wanted me to let you all know that we are working for a solution to being able to sell mushroom ketchup on the website again. Right now, it's just really, really difficult to get. Now, this recipe is a perfect fall-time recipe. I hope that it makes you comfortable. This video makes you comfortable cooking in an earthen oven. We encourage you to make one. They're not hard to make, and they're so much fun to use, and nothing tastes like something that's been baked with a wood fire. That smoke comes in. There's so much more going on than just baking it in the oven at home. That is so good. It's exactly what you want to eat on a cold... What is going on here? Go on. Go on.